What's up guys, it's your buddy Mogswamp. Today we are going to be kicking off a new tutorial series where we do terraforming projects in Minecraft, and I can show you guys some of the tips that I've learned while doing terraforming in this game. So we're gonna start off with something pretty simple here. I thought today we could work on a little koi pond. So a fun way to start this off, if you have some TNT and some flat ground, is to just light off the TNT, create a nice organic shape in the ground for yourself. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is just figure out what shape you sort of want your pond to be. And you'll notice when I'm going through, I'm just gonna take out any awkward right angles like this. It looks more natural if you take out the corner pieces. And sometimes you want to add one in as well. All right, so with the general shape of our koi pond laid out, let's start sculpting the bottom. I think maybe we can go down one more level here right in the middle. So let's just knock out a little bit of a deep part here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start filling everything in with sand on the bottom here where it's stone right now. And I've just expanded that deep part a little bit. That's looking good. So now I want to sort of mix in a few patches of gravel into this. So let's go ahead and do that. And the gravel can be a nice transition from the sand into the stone that we're going to put down. So I tend to put it towards the edges. So now that we've got our nice sandy bottom installed here, let's switch over to stone and start converting the rest of the pond to stone. Great, so this is what we've got so far, and you'll notice that I even put a bunch of stone on the same level as some of the sand, and this is because we're going to want to do some half slab type of stuff. But before we do that, I want to get a little bit more of a dirty bottom to this pond, so let's grab our coarse dirt and just sprinkle a little bit of that in as well. Great, and maybe you've got more of a pristine pond and you don't want to put in the dirt, but I think it really helps once you fill this thing up. So let's clear our inventory out, and we're going to grab the half slab, full block, and stair variants of cobblestone, stone, and andesite. And conveniently, they fit perfectly on the hotbar, just like this. So what we're gonna start to do is sprinkle in these different stair blocks and half slab blocks to sort of give this a lot of variance as we go up. When you have a big flat area like this, it might be good to sort of build this edge up a little bit, and make sure to do corner stairs, sprinkle some corner stairs in there. All right, we're starting to get some really good variance in here, and we can actually go ahead and place a few slabs down on this level too. What might be good is to have more of a steep edge of your pond and then more of a shallow edge. And it looks like in this pond here, this is sort of more of a steep drop, but over here it's a bit more shallow. So let's actually extend some of this shore out a little bit. So what we can do is just come into here and give ourselves a little bit more leeway. That looks nice, and then we'll come through and just do the exact same thing we just did, putting stairs and half slabs. And when you're trying to place blocks down randomly in Minecraft, it might feel really hard at first, but I found that the less you think about it, the more random it actually comes out. When you're like trying to make it really, really random, I can find it to be pretty difficult. You can tend to overthink it. Great, I think that's looking really nice. We're gonna build up this bank a little bit more here now. So let's go ahead and make sure that no grass blocks are touching a half slab like this. Let's fix all of those. And when we do that, we can actually build up little, piles of rocks almost like this. I think that's a really nice way to add a little bit of variance here. Great, so now that we've built it up a little, this is what we've got. And at this point, I think it's hard to go any further without just adding the water in and starting to look at the bottom of the pond a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've gone ahead and switched my game mode over to survival just to show you guys that all you really need is 2 buckets of water to get this done. So let's come over here, and I want to start in a place with a corner, and we're going to place down a bucket of water in each of the sides of this little L shape, which is going to create an infinite source here in the corner that we can grab from. So now that we've got that, we can just keep filling our buckets and just sort of go around, make sure you hit all the half slabs so that those turn into source blocks of water as well. And once you get down a certain side, the water should just kind of spread and fill everything up like you're seeing there. And we're just gonna go level by level, going around the perimeter and putting water until everything is turning to source blocks. And just try not to skip ahead to the next level until you've finished one whole level, because things can start to get a little confusing. If you miss a source block and start placing the water above it, it'll kind of want to create like a little whirlpool, and it doesn't look too great. And that should do it. So that's our pond all filled up. And now's the really fun part. Now we get to start adding plants and little stones and pebbles and just the things that are gonna add the most personality to this little pond here. So to start, I like to just get some seagrass in here and spread that around a little bit. You can sort of start putting kelp around as well. And then what the sea pickles do is they're gonna give off light. They actually work very similar to the candles that were just added into the game. So you can add up to 4 of them on a single block, and the more you add, the more bright it's going to be. So it might actually be best to do the sea pickles at night. You'll get a better idea of what your pond's gonna look like in the nighttime and how lit up it's gonna be. So I try to do different amounts of sea pickles in different places. That's looking good. Sometimes it's helpful to just zoom out a little bit, see where there's a dark spot. It's a little dark in this corner, so maybe we'll add a couple over here. So last but not least, for the bottom of the pond, we've got a selection of different leaves here. I tend to use jungle, spruce, and oak. And again, you don't want to do too many of these, but I think they really do add a lot. So we're just gonna sprinkle a few here and there. And I think it actually can look really nice to sort of bury the leaves in half slabs like this. Check it out from the bottom of the pond. I think it's looking really awesome. Oop. And if you see something like this, it just means you're missing a little bit of source blocks here. So let's just go back, and one there should do it. There we go. Sometimes it's actually good to swim underwater because it'll be pretty obvious when there's water missing from down here. So, you know, you can just sprinkle these around your pond. That's one way to do it, and I think that looks pretty good. But another thing that people do is they'll do actually little lily pad flowers. So the way that is done is you're gonna wanna get a trapdoor. I think it looks pretty good to use the birch trapdoor, or another one you can use is the warped trapdoor. And then you're gonna wanna get a coral fan. You can use any of the colors, but I think it definitely looks best with the pink or the purple colors. So what you're gonna wanna do is just start from the side here and sort of build out, and I'm holding shift down to be able to place the trapdoors against each other. And we just wanna get to a place where we can surround this trapdoor with lily pads on all sides, like so. And then we'll hold shift and place the coral fan in the middle, and I think it makes a really nice sort of lily pad flower effect. Let's make one more of them. This time, let's actually try and use the warped trapdoor just so you can see what that looks like. So we can actually just place against this lily pad here, right against the bottom like that, and then get rid of the lily pad. And let's try the bubble coral fan this time. Yeah, I think that looks really sweet. I actually don't like how they're lined up like that. I find that, you know, when things line up, they don't look as natural. So let's actually bump this over a few blocks here. Now, something I think looks really sweet in a koi pond like this is having maybe a little bridge coming out where you can sort of come out and sit and enjoy the water. So if you didn't know this, you can place down a campfire and either put a water bucket on it or just right click it with your shovel to put it out. I like doing the shovel method just so water's not spilling everywhere while I'm trying to do this. And the campfires really look good as like a little bridge. So we can just come over here, line those up, and build this out a few blocks. I really like the spruce fences with these campfires. I think it matches the tone of the wood pretty nicely. So we can come underneath here and just build these down. And then we can just come up and pat out these campfires. And there we go, we've got a nice little wooden bridge. So in the new update 1.17, they added in these axolotls, which are really, really cute, but unfortunately they attack other fish. So you're gonna have to choose whether you want this to be an axolotl pond or a tropical fish pond. And the tropical fish can coexist with the cod and the salmon and the pufferfish. That might not make a ton of sense for a koi pond. These are more ocean fish, so I'm just gonna go with a few of the tropical fish. Luckily, there's a pretty great variety of these. Although we're only getting the same one. Do I have to give myself another bucket to get a new one? I'm not sure how creative mode does this. We're getting all the same fish. Okay, maybe in survival mode? Okay, well, I guess this is just going to be a little white clownfish pond because I cannot seem to get a single other kind of tropical fish. Rest assured, if you're in survival mode, you'll have a bunch of different fish that you can get. I originally wasn't going to put these other ocean fish in here, but since we're only getting white fish, in this case I will, just to give us a little bit of variety here. The salmon actually look quite cool in here. Great, now that our pond is teeming with life, let's give the outside of the pond a little more attention. I just put down a moss block here, which the sugarcane can go on. And if you use bone meal on the moss block, it spreads to other stone blocks. So I think it might be kind of cool to sort of spread a little bit of moss around. Cool, and now we should be able to place down some sugarcane next to water. So maybe we'll have one 2 high right there. This one can be 3 high, and we don't have to worry about putting string on top because that's as tall as sugarcane can naturally grow. And then with the bamboo, it's nice because we have a lot more variance we can do with the height. So I would just kind of plant the sprouts around like I've done here in a way that looks pleasing, and then we can go through with bone meal and sort of start to find what heights look nice with each other. So I think that looks pretty cool, so I'm going to basically freeze these all in place by putting a string on top of each one. All right, this is starting to look really, really sick. And these new little azalea bushes are super fun to play with as well. Great, so now that we've done all that, I think it's good to actually go back and grab some more leaves, and we can start to sprinkle a little of those around as well. And this is where it might be good to set your game back to nighttime because I really like to hide lighting under the bushes here. So my favorite light in the game is the shroom light, so I like to just come dig under a bush here and place the shroom light down and then fill all this back in. And it's just a really nice way to hide a little bit of light. Yeah, that's really awesome. I love the way that looks. So let's get a few more bushes in over here. Great, that's looking amazing. And then I purposely didn't put many bushes over by the bridge. I think there's another cool way we can make a light here. I think that's a decent height. So we'll go ahead and put a cap on that. Have this come out a couple blocks and just hang our lantern off it. I think that's a little too far. So let's actually do it there. That's a pretty plain lamppost, so let's at least give it a little wall at the bottom just to sort of dress it up a little bit. Our bridge is a little bit of an awkward step up here, so maybe we can just add a few trapdoors like that. Let's go ahead and get some fungus in around the pond. Again, this is just like to add some variation to everything. Not a ton, but just here and there to add a little bit of variation. We can go ahead and start placing a few mushrooms around, the warped fungus and then the crimson fungus. And then if there's another place that seems a little too dark, a really fun trick is just to take a little end rod and place a red mushroom block on top of it, and you'll get a really big sort of mushroom that also lights up the area a little bit. And then you'll notice you can't actually place down the red or the brown mushrooms. And so a good way to do it is to just grab some podzol and come in here and put it down on top of the podzol here and there. And I actually like this because it forces you to sort of switch up the ground a little bit. So we'll get maybe a red one next to the bigger red one, another brown one here. And then the podzol might look a little out of place just on its own, so we can come in with some coarse dirt and even the new rooted dirt and just add a little bit of variation around. so that it's sort of like a muddy area near the pond. I think that looks pretty good. Much more natural than just having the normal ground. All right, so we're gonna do one last pass through and just add a little bit more plants to this, just for even more variation. And that'll look really nice with the berries on it, just a little pop of color there. And maybe we'll get one here as well. And then we've got the dead bushes. Maybe you want to add one of those in more of the brown areas around here. They've also added these big and small drip leaves. To be honest, I haven't even played with these yet. So maybe a double tall one here. There we go. That's looking cool. And maybe one right here. That looks awesome. I actually really like the way that looks. And my favorite two flowers are the blue orchid and the lily of the valley. So I gotta sneak a couple of those into every little nature build I do. And then last but not least, this is a little over the top, but I do really think it adds a ton of cool detail. So these coral blocks, the brain, the horn, and the bubble are my favorite to do this with. But basically when you place a coral block down and it's not touching any water, after a few seconds it'll dry out and turn gray. And it's just a sort of variation to the stone textures that we have with the cobble and the andesite and the regular stone here. And I just think it's like the little tiny details that really matter with this stuff. And that just adds that extra level of detail where if someone's going through this build, they're just gonna be like, wow, this person really went that extra mile with this. So the very, very last thing that I often do with a little pond like this is to just add some stone buttons, maybe as pebbles, like just hanging out around the pond here. Maybe you can try a spruce or a dark oak one if you're really feeling adventurous. I don't usually do that. I think it looks a little bit abstract when you do that, but the stone ones I think work really well, and it's pretty easy to tell what you're going for. And with that, I think this first terraforming tutorial is pretty much done. I'm actually really happy with this little koi pond. And what we're gonna do for this series is every time we do a new little terraforming project, we're just gonna add on to this little pond here. So this is sort of our starting point. We're just gonna keep building it up. I plan to do a tutorial for custom trees, a cliff, a waterfall, a river, mountains, and so eventually, hopefully this will be a big, beautiful natural landscape, and I can just sort of teach you guys all the things I've learned playing on a super flat survival world and being forced to sort of terraform to the best of my ability. So I really hope that this helped some of you out. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, why don't you just go ahead and slap a like on there for me? I'd really appreciate it. Of course, if the rest of this terraforming series sounds interesting to you, make sure to subscribe so that you see those videos when they come out. And if you have any questions or comments for me, make sure to put those down below. I'll make sure to get back to you. And before we go, I thought it would be fun to just see how this looks with some shaders on. So let's go ahead and turn those on. Oh yeah, that makes such a big difference. Look at how cool this looks. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.